Hello, welcome to Hey Mando. I am Kyle Souza with
Hey, Mando.
Ryan Ray.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're
Sorry
good.
about
I
you.
haven't, earned the title of Mando though. I just have the Mando shirts.
You don't have the
That's
helmet
what I
yet.
do. Oh, I just got a notification on Twitter that my friend Ryan Ray is streaming live for one of his podcasts. Ryan, where can people follow you on Twitter if they want such notifications?
This is actually being streamed on at Ryan Ray Senior or at Visit Outpost 23, but we stream this one on at Ryan Ray Senior right now. But probably will eventually move it. But that's where at. And it's good to be here, Mando. I'm gonna call you Mando.
Yes. I'll have to share a Mandalorian story off the air with you regarding Christmas.
Oh,
I just don't have the visual aids, otherwise I would
count it off.
show it to people now. Now,
Sorry. Sorry.
uh,
PG.
we are streaming this live. It will be available on the Outpost 23 YouTube channel. People can find out more at outpost23.net, and then also it will be at some point live on podcast channels.
At some
I don't
point,
know what those are
when you
called.
hear this, it will be live on the podcast channel.
Yes, it will be available in an audio only format. You can find out more at talkinggeek.com for that. Okay. Today we are talking about The Sin, Chapter 3.
Kyle, we didn't
Oh,
tell the
yes.
people. Spoiler alert.
Yes, spoiler alert for anything and everything that has ever happened or ever will happen.
Thank you. You've been warned.
Yes, we're covering everything from Genesis 1:1 through the end of Revelation.
The whole shebang in this
The whole
galaxy
thing.
and the one far, far away.
Yes, all the galaxies. Or at least two. I guess I should say at least two. Though, interesting note, ET's species is present in the Star Wars universe, and so that makes them an intergalactic traveler. So the question is, if they can travel from the Star Wars galaxy to our galaxy, are they even from that galaxy in Star Wars, or did they travel there from another point? Are they the Forerunners? These are
Also,
questions we don't know.
also, since we know it's a long time ago, do they age longer than Yoda does?
This is true. ET did seem very childlike.
So we
He
need.
could have been 97.
So Spielberg and Lucas, if we can get you guys on to kind of sort this out, that would be helpful.
Yes, we would happily have them on for an interview or three.
Yeah. Short
Yes.
one, very long. Anyways, where are we going, Kyle? The Sin. What sin?
The Sin. Speaking
sorry.
of Genesis through Revelation, the Sin. Also, chapter 3. Oh my goodness. Do you realize that? The fall
Yeah.
of man in Genesis chapter 3, the Mandalorian, the Sin chapter 3. I just put that together. Wow. Okay, everybody. I'm sorry. Hopefully I didn't get too loud there. Very excited. Cool. So what'd you think?
It was okay. It's better than last week's. It's not a
Better
10.
than last week's. Okay.
With the bar, my 1.5-year-old could have stepped over last week's episode. So to be fair, there's some questions. There's some questions I have based upon last week's conversation and season 2 conversations that I walked away from. Rehashing some of that stuff, and so but I thought it was a good episode. It was fun. It was good. What'd you think? If I had to rate it, I would say solid 6 type episode, like one of those. It's okay. It's good.
I thought it was fine. I'd give it a 6.5, though. I think there were some redeeming qualities. Yes. Yeah, you give it a 6. I give it a 6.5. I do know that regardless of where we would rate it, I liked it better than you did. I could only tell that because I liked it. Period.
Right.
So that generally means that you will not like it. Period.
I liked it. I liked it though.
That's good. I'm glad that having seen the end of it helps make the beginning better for you.
I think it really does. I mean, I think getting through the end of season 2 helps you understand. It also makes all the points I've said about it before even more true, but it also makes some of this stuff like, okay. And so I've had questions galore, Kyle. You walk through, I will fire my questions away at you, or it's your show. You do what you want to do. I have questions, though. I don't have the answers this week. I just have questions.
Okay, so I do have a couple questions myself. So one of the first things I thought I was thinking about as I sat down to watch this was knowing that the child is 50.
Mhm,
Where is he in development? If Yoda was 900 and acted 90, shouldn't he be acting 5 years old at the age of 50? That's assuming a linear maturation, right?
mhm,
Linear maturing process. Now, if it's a non-linear maturing process, like what we see in like Tolkien elves and things like that, what we usually see is a rapid maturing early on and then a plateauing. He
mhm.
appears to be plateauing or going very slowly at the beginning and then accelerating at some point later in life. Some of those questions may be answered by the High Republic, where we get to see a quote unquote young Yoda, still in a mid centenarian or mid millenniagenarian.
I don't know how the story writers are gonna handle this, but, if you had a child, a human child, that was born and then let's say I have a child 52, and by the time they were 2, they were kidnapped, and they were kinda moved around and hid secretly, but they're never really trained and developed, that also would impact their developmental stages as well, so I don't know if they're gonna play
Fair
into that,
point.
but that's something to consider. That Go ahead.
No, no, no. I think that's a great point because when we think about this timeline, this being taking place in 9 ABY, the Battle of Yavin happening uh, 19 years after the fall of the Republic. So that would put it 28 years. So he would have been 32 at the time he was kidnapped. So maybe his development mentally, not talking about the force, just
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally stopped around what we would see as an age of 3 in human experience. I like it. I think that's a great answer. Not to call you a liar, but you said you only had questions.
Well, I said, "What if?
So
What if?"
yeah, no, 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 yeah. What if the point of what if is to answer questions? That's what the whole comic series is about. That's what the whole TV show is about. Wait, that's
I'm
Marvel, not
letting you
Star
speak.
Wars.
I'm sorry.
That was
I'm
some,
sorry.
sorry.
I recant. I don't know.
No, that's a great point. So, like we said at the beginning, spoiler alert, because we know that Grogu has been kidnapped. He has been taken away from the Jedi Temple where he at least was for some amount of time. We don't know exactly when he got there. My guess is he was born there from Yaddle and Yoda's tryst. Um, so, Joe, the closest I can get is saying that I don't want to call him a liar. I think we all know what it means, though. You know what I'm
Oh, good grief.
So let's see. For those listening in, those were live comments. One of the benefits of tuning into the live stream is that you get to leave live comments. Though, if you're tuning into the not live stream, you get to leave comments on the YouTube video. Please do that
Or
too.
I'll go to all hate mail, just so we're clear, is directed to thetalkinggeek.com,
Mhm,
thetalkinggeek.com, one word, .com,
mhm.
um, um, and directed to the one and only Kyle Souza or Darth Souza, however you want to spin that. So whatever.
Yes. Well, Jedi Souza will be coming later.
It's a factual statement.
Yes, it is.
Factual statement.
One I'm very excited about.
Me
And I
too.
get to make jokes
As
about it
as
too.
you are, but yes.
So, another question I had is the client here.
Mhm.
Did he give everybody a chunk of Beskar when he handed them a key fob or a tracking fob
Like a
when he
little
hired them?
placard, not placard, but a
Yeah,
little
right, right. Little. I don't know the exact
plastic arm.
measurement.
Are there a bunch of guild members with arm patches of Beskar walking around?
Well, theoretically, other guild members would just sell it for the value because
Sure.
other people want it. Yeah, or they might make some you know, im, armor penetrating bullets. For because there are some projectile weapons in the Star Wars universe, though they are few and far between. They might be saving it up for a Beskar staff if somebody were crazy enough to make such a thing for some reason, or they might want to fashion their own non-Mandalorian Beskar armor. But we saw when he hired Mando, he handed him a not a disc, but a bit of Beskar to begin with. and offered him a Camtano of it upon completion of the mission. And then we see like 30 other people have these tracking fobs, not just one IG-11 droid that probably would not ask for upfront payment.
Yeah. So one thing that become
Yeah.
clear this week to me was we talked about this last week was or 2 weeks ago how many people were sent out, and I'd forgotten this line, which was like a lot of people were sent out, like it was a ton of folks, and so I'd forgotten that was in there.
That is something that we did bring up at the near the end of season 2. That is a good point. I'm just saying, like Mando, if he'd been paid full price, what had been prepaid to all these failures and rejects, his payment probably should have been double what it was.
So the question is for me is on the Beskar is how how accessible was this Imperial Beskar? And it seems to be hinted at later on, but like apparently for the Empire or the folks working for the Empire, the Beskar is just it's like Fed dollars in the US. It's just at your disposal.
Yeah, I think for Moffs and Admirals, it might be available. Though the Camtano, I do have a little bit of an issue with. It wasn't quite full. It looked like there was about 8 slabs missing. I like the term slab there.
Yeah.
It looked like there was maybe 6 to 8 slabs missing to make a full Camtano. But all that aside, Mando didn't throw up a fight until later when he fought everybody. But I think it was available to people that needed it, and the Empire couldn't go trading Imperial credits at this point in time amongst non-Imperial controlled areas because they may not accept it, and it would also completely, I guess, might make it more traceable to them. Though having a piece of Beskar with the Imperial emblem stamped on it is pretty traceable, I guess.
So yeah, and it comes up how they got it, which okay, we'll get to that in a second. So, but yeah, I don't know. Did everyone get the little what'd you call them? A little
The ice cream maker, the Camtano, or are you talking about the slab?
little slabs.
Yeah, yeah, a
Um,
little slab.
I wonder if everyone got a slab. That's a good question. But yeah, it seemed to be that the Beskar was far more valuable to the receiver than it was to the giver, and
Mm-hmm.
so and then later on there's some discussion about how they actually come across that Beskar. So,
Yes, there is. So we'll get to that. So I do want to talk about that Camtano for a second because that's just a throwback to Empire. Episode 5 of Star Wars was the first time that we saw one of those things, and it was called that after the fact.
the eyeball thing.
No. The thing that held all the Beskar, the white thing with the lid
Oh
that
yeah,
everything was inside of, and then makes an appearance in season 2 for the crystals, right? That the mining guild that Cobb Vanth steals from the mining guild.
yeah.
So yeah, there's a little scene in Empire when they're evacuating where a guy's running away holding an ice cream maker, and in canon they made it him not running away with an ice cream maker, but him running away with basically a safe of something valuable, and that's where the Camtano comes from. Let's see. He goes into his covert. They talk about breaking. Oh wait, no. Before that. So I noticed this was interesting. The client notices that he needs new armor.
Mm-hmm.
So the client can see that his armor has been compromised. Which just helps set up the fact that he needs new armor. A little bit of foreshadowing there. There's lots of foreshadowing in this episode, and yes, foreshadowing. Trademarked Ryan Ray.
Yes,
last week.
No one ever thought of that before me.
Nope, never. And if you Google it, those people are liars.
Thank you.
Those I will call liars. No matter how much I want to call Ryan a liar, sometimes I will call other people I don't know.
I'll be a liar. That's a safe bet. I don't see. Here you go. You have all these things, and I have no answers. All I have is questions. So now we're to the.
So we do see though in the covert, right? That's what's called a covert. I was using other words. I was saying culvert, like the drainage ditches.
Oh yeah, culvert.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, so it's a covert, and we see a lot of other Mandalorians there. Some of them have significantly less armor than Din, though. I did not notice that in my prior viewings, but this time I noticed some just basically had the chest plate and that's it. So hopefully they made use of the old armor that Din was discarding, whether they could smelt that down and remake it for somebody new, even though it was not pure Beskar, or maybe they could extract the Beskar out. I'm not sure exactly what the density of the metals are there and the separation process. So I just thought that was interesting. So they are talking about, or we see some flashbacks to the Purge, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Great Purge Mandalore, and we see who we believe is Din as a child, or
Mm-hmm.
the Mandalorian as a child, getting put into uh, a little hiding space, and by some people that we are to assume are his parents, and then there's a big explosion, and then we see a B2 battle droid. I thought that was really interesting that we saw a B2 battle droid because that makes me think, oh, this happened back before the end of uh this happened before the end of the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
But then that means it's not a flashback to the Great Purge.
Wow, when was the purge?
Well, I believe the Purge, and my apologies, I did not do this research beforehand.
Yeah, all I have is
Um,
I've already warned you. All I have is questions.
so I thought the Purge happened after the end of the Civil War. The Great Purge of Mandalore. Let's see if we have a exact date. All we know for sure, from what I see here, is that it happened during the Imperial era. So, based on the newest timeline, that is after the end of the Galactic Empire. So, that tells us that either he was made an orphan before the end of the Civil War and he's been a Mandalorian this whole time, or he's pretty young if that happened during the Great Purge and the Great Purge was after the end of the Civil War. Also, I
Or
think my camera keeps auto refocusing. So that's a benefit to everybody who subscribes to the audio only version of the podcast. You have a lesser chance of getting vertigo or motion sickness.
it could be that the writers just didn't think about it.
That's not an option.
That's sorry.
No, I mean that's the most likely thing, but I think it's something that they will have to explain one way or another, or they'll give us a firmer date on the purge and do a little bit of retconning there.
Okay, so
or we have seen that this empire, the empire after the empire, but before the First Order, or Second Empire, there does use some droids, right? The Death Troopers are droids.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's another thing I was about to ask you. Are we 100% sure that none of the droids were kept? And again, all I have is questions.
Yes. I am 100% sure of nothing in life, but I do believe that the Empire, for a matter of keeping up a show, that Emperor Palpatine, one of his first orders, was to basically, aside from Order 66, we'll call it Order 65, was to kill all the droids. Now, he did want to make a big show of defeating the Separatists and uniting the galaxy. That is something that he had to do to solidify his power from a political perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that point, all the droids were either destroyed or shut down and taken offline. Now, we did see some elements of Separatist droids in Rebels that were not shut down, but they didn't realize that the Civil War was over. Those droids were never informed.
Yeah, you should probably send that code out. Like
yeah.
Order 67. Like they didn't like, oh hey droids, we're good. We're calling it.
Yeah. If you're still online, just power down.
Power down. Well, when all the motherships destroyed, wouldn't that be the end of the droids? I don't know. That's how it works.
It depends on the kind of droid, and then also not all the droids were controlled by a central computer from a Federation ship like we saw in Episode 1.
I got you.
Let's see. Grief Karga, or as my autocorrect put it, Greed Carfax. He is talking to somebody who reminds me of Embo. So Mando now has his new armor. He goes back to the bar. He goes back to the cantina. There we go. You want to comment on that?
No.
No? Okay.
2 weeks ago, I would have taken this comment live on the air.
Ooh, okay. Bringing reality into Star Wars here.
However, today with the purge just going on in real life, we'll just leave this for the viewers to see. And
a safe bet, my friend. A safe bet.
Love you, Joe.
So Mando goes back in and he's going for another job, right? So he goes to talk to Grief.
Is he really going another job?
I think that was his plan. Was just, I need to go get another job. I need to get out of here. I need to move on to the next thing.
Question. This is a question.
Mm-hmm.
Before he goes to the job, right? He goes to his gear shifter and the ball is off. That's the first time we've seen the ball being off of his throttle, gear shifter, whatever that thing is. It never showed Grogu taking it off and him giving it to Grogu until at the end of the episode.
Correct.
Right. So they're already kind
of. Wait. Was it off though? I didn't think it was off. Yeah, I thought he just saw the ball and was like, oh.
Yeah, he puts it on.
Oh, okay.
He's just sitting there and he puts it on.
I guess I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but before he gets to his ship, he's first talking to Grief, right? But before he talks to Grief, there's somebody else talking to Grief. Mm-hmm. That person reminds me of Embo, but has a very different hat. But who it looks a lot like is the Sabak dealer at the end of Solo. Solo, a Star Wars story that a lot of people didn't like. Personally, I didn't think it was a terrible movie. Actually really fun at places.
Listen, they brought back Darth Maul, so I'm a Darth Maul. Like, the more spots you can bring back Darth Maul, the more you're going to hear me applaud you. But that's really all I remember about that movie. They did the Kessel Run, which that was, there was Chewie, there was Han. There's a train, cold weather, Darth Maul, some girl who was good, bad, I can't remember, and some weird folks at the end. That's kind of my recollection. Oh, Lando was there too, obviously, and the Falcon.
Yes,
so it's kind of my. I think at the high points of that movie. I haven't seen it.
Yes. So one of the low points of the movie was the Sabbath game, right? So we see where Han goes back to Lando to win the Millennium Falcon fair and square, air quotes. While I make that clear. But there's a guy dealing it, and that guy dealing it has been called, and I wrote this down here, Saucerhead. I don't know that that's what he was credited as in the movie, but that's what people are calling him online, at least. And the person that Grief is talking to looks like this Saucerhead character. So I don't know if there's crossover there or not, or if they just happen to be the same species and they all wear similar hats. He calls him a dust breather. Let's see. We see the shiny armor. They do, speaking of Solo, they do reintroduce parsecs, right? It's the largest bounty that this parsec has ever seen. So they bring that in. And then Grief Karga tells Mando, hey, you should take some time off, do some womanizing and drugs. And I won't go into more detail because don't want any parental ratings against this streaming podcast, which I guess fits in with the underworld here. I kind of forgot that we were in a seedy underworld for a minute on Disney Plus.
Okay, so that's one thing we talked about on last season's episodes that we covered, which is, this is Star Wars, so the timeline is all jacked up, is that you have kind of this deal where Boba Fett just beats the tar out of these stormtroopers, and it's very much a violent death. And that's the one thing I do appreciate about this show, is that the stormtroopers don't just get a lightsaber kind of across the chest and they fall over and die, or they're
Right.
black.
It's not Rebels.
Yeah, or even episode 4 where you just and they're just falling over. Like they die cruel deaths, and these are bad soldiers, and so it's kind of on some level. Now, if you go back and listen to some of the other episodes, you'll hear kind of tension that you've ultimately come to with that. But on some level, I do kind of appreciate that these are rugged soldiers. He's a rugged guy, and it's not everyone gets a blaster shot and they fall over dead. That does happen. That's fine. I'm fine with that. You got to have that. But there are plenty of times where, especially this one, where the deaths that they succumb to are quite. They're not, it's a PG show, so it's or whatever. I don't know what it is, but there's no.
They're not gory, but they are involved.
Yes, exactly. Which just goes to show you, just you don't have to have and blood and guts everywhere to really capture a cruel way for someone to die.
I concur wholeheartedly.
So, real quick, have you watched The Expanse?
No, not yet, but I do have it queued up on Amazon Prime. I'm hoping to start it soon.
There's some cruel deaths on that one, so
I have to check it out.
I won't spoil it for you though.
Yeah, I need to check out the parents' guide on that before I start watching it because, me and Grief Karga have very different pastimes. I'll put it that way. Based on now, we know what he thinks of as a good time. Surprise, surprise from the guy who hangs out in a bar all day. Not sure what I was expecting from him. Okay, so we do get a nice shot of the Razor Crest, right? Which is just such a Star Wars Z spaceship. It's fantastic. And then I realized when Mando was sitting there, right, he goes to fidget with the knob on the handle, like you said. I just realized, like, oh wait, hold on, he didn't get a new helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this helmet was already pure Beskar, which makes sense. If you're going to have any part of your protection made out of pure Beskar, the one protecting your head is probably the best one.
Yeah, so that's the thing when you come into the series is that his helmet is like light years ahead of his armor, and then his armor catches up.
Right, which I mean is kind of what you expect for, like, I don't know, a level 4 adventurer. Yeah, they're gonna have some good stuff, but not always the best. Let's see, what else do we got? Okay, I was gonna go to where he starts attacking the client's base. Any questions on things before we get to that, though?
So you do think that he came back for a job and then just got distracted and went to go get Grogu?
I think he felt some stuff for Grogu. I don't know how much of it was conscious and how much was subconscious and how much was influenced by Grogu, either consciously or subconsciously through the Force, and how much of it was there's an orphan, and I was an orphan, and I need to care for the orphan, which is actually part of Mandalorian culture to care for orphans.
So one of the things that sticks out, and you got to kind of jump around to answer this, is when he gets to armor done, he gets the dueling doves, or what's his
the whistling birds. Yes.
Are those Beskar bullets that are coming out?
Yes.
So he's like a bag somewhere just full of thousands of Beskar bullets.
So that is something that I made a note on too. He needs to have some of those around for refilling. We saw the armorer put them in place, but he uses them later. So he had to have refilled at some point. So yeah, he's got to have some little Beskar rods around.
That's got to be a pain in the butt just to refill that sucker up.
Yeah, but I bet it's worth it every time.
Oh yeah, it's worth it 100% of the time. No doubt about it. It's worth it. But okay, so the other thing is when he goes to the guild and they kind of jostle him around, and there's a lot of talk about this is the way, and then through the episode he's repeatedly reminded, or we're told at least, that he's not actually following the way. So he comes back and he asks about the child. What are you gonna do with the child? So that's none of your business. That's not how things operate here.
Right.
It says it when they take Grogu, and then Apollo Creed tells him that when he asks Apollo Creed that. And so there's this whole thing about sorry, he's always Apollo Creed to me. It's just
it's all good.
I can't help it. And so so he is actually breaking away from the way while being confirmed. This is the way. This is the way. And at the end, there's the whole. This is the way. We're gonna come save you. And he's literally going against what their guild supposedly stands for. So
Right, secrecy and not showing themselves and everything.
yeah, and the secrecy thing on that, the other thing was they seem to indicate that the reason that they have to be secretive is because of the Empire, right?
Yes, and I had a note on that also. Note number 29 on my list. I don't know where it was on yours, but
72.
now that the Empire is dead, why are the Mandalorians still hiding? They could have been running this planet. Like we just saw them demolish people who were trying to kill them. If
Mhm.
they came out at a time when people weren't in the middle of a fight and prepared for it, Navarro would be the new Mandalore.
Right. So you have that obviously, which is a great point by you. Another thing is that when we find it when Bo comes in season 2, she's like, "Yeah, pop your helmet off, whatever, no big deal." And so I I kind of wonder, and she talks about them being a sect or a cult or whatever she calls them. I kind of wonder if these guys get stuck on Navarro and they go off to maybe go track down someone, they come back, but they really okay. Let's just call it a spade. If Kyle and Ryan started their own Mandalorian guild, this is kind of how we'd be. Not very sociable, staying at our home planet, tucked away in the dark recesses, going out when
Hmm.
we had to, not realizing that things have changed, times move along, we could come out freely now. We'd just be like, yeah, let's go hole up and play, Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft or something, or I don't know, watch Star
Yeah,
Wars.
but they know. Yeah, what would we do without Star Wars? We'd have so much time for activities. No, we do know that they know that the Empire is over because he refuses Imperial credits in the first one, with the reason that he can't spend them. You know,
No,
the
no, no.
Empire's
Yeah,
dead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you there. I'm saying though that the Empire ends, and when they leave Navarro to go do a mission, they're not out and about like talking to people. Like they just go. Like if take the pilot, he goes and not the pilot. Yeah, yeah, the first half the pilot when he goes and he gets the blue guy right.
Hmm.
He just goes and gets the blue guy, and then he's like, "Take me back to my ship." He's not popping, the helmet off and having a cold beer or Coca Cola,
Right.
whatever. He's like, "Go get my stuff and then go back." And so I wonder if when she kind of called them cultish or whatever the term she said was, if that's part of it, like they're not very sociable, and so they just kind of go do their thing and they come back, and so they know the empire's through, and it's over, but all of their concerns about how they live are kind of built into just how they live because they're not pushing boundaries, if that makes sense.
No, I think so very much. I think that has to do with who they are as the Watch, right? As he's called a child of the Watch, and that actually, oh, we got our first hint of that in this episode. All right. So if you're watching that covert scene and the Mandalorian who is called Heavy Infantry uh, in the subtitles, who's calling him a coward and trying to start something with him for working with the Empire, that's Paz Vizsla. Now, they made a small but significant change to Paz Vizsla because the very first time I watched this, I of course watched through the credits, um, and I saw Vizla, Vizsla, and
Vis-
that's not how Pre Vizsla spells Vizsla. His is Vizsla, and now they have gone and changed the credits to now be Paz Vizsla, Vizsla. So whether it is a descendant of Pre Vizsla or not, they are definitely that heavy infantry Mandalorian is definitely part of House Vizsla and would be related to Pre Vizsla. Pre Vizsla being the founder of Death Watch in Clone Wars.
You are a wizard.
I read credits on movies, and
What
it actually and so
do you do?
yeah,
Wizard.
it's a what movie was that where somebody returns a movie to a Blockbuster or Hollywood movie video or something like it's missing a minute and 12 seconds off of the credits from the runtime. I don't time it, but I do generally go through at least some, if not all, of the credits. Once they start switching languages on me, I stop watching them. I will say that. Though sometimes, because sometimes you can learn something like context on The Last Jedi. The fact that in English, Jedi is both singular and plural, but in other languages, it has a plural form. So the Last Jedi movie title was a plural form of Jedi. Anyways, what we see here is not somebody credited with being Paz Vizsla, but Paz Vizsla having a stunt double. And so that's where we get in there. And the first time we saw the end of or near the end of season 1, again, spoiler alerts, and we see the fight with Fennec, and that a Mandalorian or a somebody comes back to Fennec's body in the desert. I didn't think it was Boba Fett. I thought that it was Paz Vizsla. That's what I thought. I thought he still had something out for Mando. He survived the covert's extinction, spoiler alert, and he was tracking Mando. That's what I thought had happened there. And it even still could be. That has not been 100% clarified. Maybe during Book of Boba Fett, we'll get some clarification on that, and it will confirm that my initial opinion was wrong. But anyways, we got a lot of hints in this episode that he is not the normal Mandalorian. Just hints at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Which is something that this series has been good at. Sorry for my diatribe there.
No, it's good. You're the guru here, but it's called the sin, and
it is.
And he obviously commits the big sin by taking
3 of them.
Well, take the helmet off. So, but I'm saying, but like he snatching Grogu.
Well, no, but I mean, he broke the guild rules by asking the client what was going to happen. He then followed that up with a little questioning of grief about it, but then he goes and steals the child. Okay, so that's a sin, stealing the child back. And then, though there is some precedence for that in non-canonical Boba Fett stories, where he pulls some shady stuff like that, where he's like, "All right, you want this?" Like somebody, mouths off to him while he's capturing him, but the bounty required that he be delivered alive. And so, because Boba Fett always does his job, he brings in the guy alive, and then as soon as he gets paid, he just like boom and just like kills him. He's like, "Now what are you guys gonna do? Huh? All right, I'm leaving." Stuff like that. But he does go back and get the kid as number 2, and then 3 he exposes his covert. So that's why I say there's 3 big no-nos.
How is he supposed to covert?
Well, they are honor bound to protect him. So when he gets trapped in a firefight, they have to go and save him. And I say have to, that's something they want to do as part of who they are and who he is to them. If a bunch of people were surrounding one of your siblings and shooting at them, you wouldn't have to save them from like a
probably would,
but you would want to.
No.
Okay, well, I made some assumptions there about your relationship with your siblings, and I apologize.
Yes, I would love to save my siblings.
I would love my siblings to save me. Maybe we phrase it that way. You're pinned down in a firefight. You would want your siblings to come save you.
I'm dead.
I'm dead.
Yeah, the sins, obviously, I think the statue of the kid, they make that pretty clear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest no-no. But there's other no-nos along the way. And sorry for talking so much. That was your point, that we got some hints that he was going to be breaking some rules.
Right. And so when you get to season 2, and he takes the helmet off, potentially has basically abandoned the guild, he's a different guy. Well, episode 3 has laid the foundation for that.
Mm-hmm. I think so. This show is very good at that. So he goes to break in. We see him. He's very strategic about it. He stops. He breaks the security droid at the door. He lures out some stormtroopers. He goes to the back of the building, blows a hole in the wall. I tried pausing it just right, and I could not tell. It looked kind of like there was a body in that explosion. which would just be completely accidental that he happened to just kill somebody on the inside of that building when he blew it up. I don't think he's that good. But we did get a really good fight scene out of this episode, in my opinion. And it's not the kind of fight scene that we normally see in Star Wars.
Wait, are you saying this isn't Star Wars then?
No, I'm saying it is Star Wars. It's just not the kind of fight scene that we usually see in Star Wars. Kind of like what you were saying earlier here in our talk, is this isn't the normal one-shot kills, one slash, not even slicing all the way through the person, just kind of scratching them and they fall down dead. He is walking up behind troopers. He's trying to do it quietly. He's snapping necks. He's, whatever. It's just a very different kind of fight scene than what we usually see in Star Wars. And I appreciated it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was one of the better action scenes we've seen.
Yeah, we did get some tie-in to A New Hope with the interrogation droid that was there with Dr. Pershing. And I say a tie into New Hope. They appear elsewhere in the Star Wars universe, but they do have to. This is all part of the same universe, so we're going to see items from one movie in another movie, like we should. And it doesn't mean like that was that interrogation droid. It's just like, no, it's part of the same universe.
Right.
I did notice Dr. Pershing wears transition lenses. It looks like he has the same problem you do with his glasses.
Permanently transitioned.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the first time we saw him, he's wearing glasses, we could see his eyes. But then when he was inside this time and he was hiding, they were pretty dark.
Yeah.
So I
put on and show you they're permanently transitioned. Yeah.
Yeah. We did get really good composition with this movie, really good sound design. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. And there was some good foreshadowing with those whistling birds because he needed those in this fight. And they're like,
if he would have gotten the rhino, what would his thing have been?
He may have been out.
Like a big horn comes out. What would it? He got the whistling birds because he didn't kill the rhino honorably. So, what would his?
Oh no! She was going to make him a crest, so it was just going to be the head of a mud horn with a giant horn on it on the side, like how Boba Fett has. He's got like the wheat symbol. Just different. Mandalorians have a different signet. Sorry, not crest, a signet. And so his was going to be the mud horn.
So he doesn't and so he doesn't take the mud horn, and so she goes, "Okay, well, I'll give you the whistling birds."
Oh, but that's not as a signet. She's just saying, okay, instead of using this metal to make a signet for you, I will then melt that down and make you some bullets.
I got you. I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was about to say, I don't remember see two birds going, puckered up on the side of his armor anywhere. So okay, makes sense.
So this does really fit in with how you keep calling him Iron Man. Because I mean, he has the suit that everybody shoots that doesn't go through. He doesn't have the jetpack yet, but there's some foreshadowing at the end of this episode about it.
Yeah.
He's got the secret weapons, which again the armor is like they're great against multiple enemies, and then of course he's put into a situation with multiple enemies.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, how about the very much the robotic like Captain America salute at the end of the episode?
Oh yes, yeah, that was very Iron Man 2, Iron Patriot, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. So
how about that was a question.
Oh, how about it?
I said, I'm just saying, I wasn't telling you an answer. I was just giving you a question. How about?
Oh no, I think they were trying to show some camaraderie and that
universe.
Yeah. I think it was just there's only so many ways you can show that from one person to another. So
I'm just gonna have no answer to these questions. So just so you know,
yeah,
this friendly reminder.
So he gets into the firefight, right? All these people are around him. They're shooting at him. He's on the back of the sled with the droid. He's yelling at the droid. If somebody kills Mando, who gets that credit, right?
Well, hold on. The droid, you missed it. He's already said he hates droids, and he hops on the ship with the droid driving it, and the droid lets him down.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, I caught that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I feel like he had to tell the droid multiple times, go.
And then like it goes like 100 feet, and Apollo blasts it. Which why didn't anyone else blast it? That's
I mean, that was the smartest thing to do.
I mean, if I was going to shoot something, I could shoot someone with whistling birds, or I can shoot the droid.
Yes. Shoot
Probably
the
gonna,
guy with the magic armor and the thing that we don't want to kill in his arms.
or the droid.
Or yeah, the droid.
Little R4.
You go for the droid.
Whatever it was.
Yeah. So we get that's. I was just wondering, like, if somebody were to have killed him, they would then immediately have to turn on each other and start killing each other to get credit for it. Because as soon as somebody else walks up to pick up the child, another guild member is just going to shoot them.
I think that's one of those. Hey, we got stacks of what do you call them? Slabs. We got slabs of Beskar laying around. Go do it. We'll take care of you, type thing. Why weren't there stormtroopers coming out? That was my question.
I don't think that he had enough stormtroopers there. It's not like there was a secret military base 5 minutes away full of stormtroopers.
Obviously not.
Yeah. It's not like that happened.
Or TIE fighters.
Or TIE fighters. Probably some droids.
No, couldn't have been. Because if they were, they would just come and shot him down.
Yeah. Well, you may not be aware of this, but TIE fighters can't enter city limits.
Oh. And if we know one thing about the TIE fighter pilot, they respect rules.
They do.
Of all the folks in the Star Wars universe, when you think TIE fighter pilot, you think a respecter of rules.
Yes.
Obviously.
They're the most reasonable death machines out there.
Listen, they're going to kill you, but only when it's legally allowed.
That's right. For those listening in not familiar with the concept, we are being sarcastic. I just want to make that clear to everyone. I mean, still make the comment you were halfway through typing, but we were being sarcastic.
Yes. Maybe we were. Maybe not.
So we do. Let's see. Grief says this is only hope. Okay, so Grief Karga very much shows that he is a coward for the most part in this episode. He's letting everybody else shoot and get shot at. He ducks out of the way. Well, not that ducking makes you a coward, but he's like hiding. Okay. Especially when things really start going bad. We do get a few disintegrations.
Real quick. What's up with that? Like the weapon is like vaporizing dudes.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did that come from?
That's his Am-Bam rifle.
Like, I mean, like take that to the Jawas and just
he did. Oh, I mean, he was shooting the Jawas with it.
But did they vaporize?
Yeah, they did.
I just missed that
in episode 2 or chapter 2.
I thought they just died. Okay.
Chapter 2, which I don't know what they're going to call these episodes and other storylines, because episodes are the movies, chapters are the Mandalorian.
Well, you have Book of Boba, so chapters.
Definitely going to have chapters in that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like we're having the Book of Ahsoka.
Or are we?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Speaking of books. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
I said I missed the Jawas getting disintegrated. I can't believe I missed that tidbit. Apologies. It won't happen again until next week.
Yeah. No, it's all good. No, we talked about it. We even talked about it last week.
Cal, listen, bro. 2020, about March 2020 till now, the weeks are like years. And by years,
I know we're
lifespans, okay? So.
Yeah, now we're in 2020 part 2. And I did see somebody earlier on Twitter over the weekend who posted like what was it? In case you want to feel old, everyone born in the year 2000 is now 40. Like time is just it's no longer relevant.
Like Revenge of the Sith, and then we skipped everything and went straight to Empire Strikes Back with 2021. Okay, like that's where we are. It's like okay, great. Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Yeah, no. So there were the disintegrations, but speaking on that book idea, I turned on the descriptive audio for this episode for part of it. It was fantastic.
You're welcome.
It was like the best audiobook. It was great. For everyone who doesn't know, you can go on Disney Plus. You could turn on subtitles, but you can also turn on descriptive audio. and this one had a lady talking. I don't know if other ones have a guy talking, but this one, I'm sorry.
I was trying to think. I think it was late the last time I turned it on. Real
Okay,
quick,
I don't know if it's the same lady every time.
it's not recommended to turn it on for your first viewing, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Just watch it. I like to just purely watch it one time, and then I watch it through a second time with the subtitles. But the descriptive audio, it is like a dramatic reading of an audiobook with sound effects. And then if you are not blind, you also get to see the visuals. Um, we're gonna augment something Ryan just said. If you are blind, you should have the descriptive audio on the first time you watch it.
First time, yes.
Yeah,
The
I
rest
want
of
to make that clear.
the rest of second time.
What I think it's great that they have that, because now people that do have eyesight issues
It's fantastic.
can enjoy the story. It's fantastic.
And the way that the lady reading it describes things is not always how you're seeing them. So, for instance, you might think, Ryan's walking up to shoot Kyle Souza, and she might say, and then Ryan turns the corner, and there's Darth Souza. You're like, whoa, Darth Souza! What? I didn't know he was a bad guy. And so she gives you clues about things like that. You're like, the subtitle would not say that. It would just say whatever I said, whatever you said, maybe bang for the noise, but the descriptive audio gives you a little bit of tidbits here and there.
It does, but I think I don't know if they've ever cut any of this, because I have a feeling. I know that they went back and edited the credit scene. They definitely edited the credits on this episode. And watching this so long after having watched it the first time through, I think that they have gone back and edited the subtitles, because I could have swore last time I watched this episode that there were subtitles for some of the alien language that we did not see this time, like the security droid outside of the client's office. I could have swore that there were subtitles for that thing in a prior viewing, and there definitely were not this time.
A great question for Reddit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I highly recommend the descriptive audio. It's fantastic.
You're welcome. There's small fee for that. But go ahead.
Thank you. I did see we had a Dothmerian bounty hunter. I thought that was fun. And then also it looked like Black Manta has joined the guild. So all the Aquaman fans should be clamoring for the Mandalorian here. Let's see. Talked about that one. The Mandalorians themselves, it's a really wide range of people, body types, things like that. So and statuses based on who's got full armor, who's got partial, who's got jetpack, who doesn't. Some people have bigger guns than others, so it really is a wide range. Some dynamism there in the Mandalorian covert. I thought there had to be at least 30 Mandalorians. What do you think?
30
at least
at the end.
At the end, you think there were less than that?
I wasn't counting, but
it's hard when they're doing cut scenes. It's a firefight at night and everything. But I was thinking, like, man, there's got to be like 30 of them here. It was just more than I expected. But also when they're down in the covert,
whatever a gaggle is, it was a gaggle of Mandalorians.
There's a gaggle of Mandalorians, and that's how Mandalorians travel, in gaggles. Let's see.
Another shirt idea.
Speaking of a shirt idea, carry a slab of Beskar in your front pocket, save your life, right, Grief Karga?
Okay, see, that kind of.
But we did see him put it in there earlier. We did see him tuck it in.
Yeah. I have forgotten so much about these episodes.
It would have been a kill shot if it hadn't been there, so it makes sense. That's where somebody would want to shoot him.
Well, yes, obviously. I mean, I can't argue with when the Mandalorian shoots, he shoots to kill.
Yeah, it's not like somebody shot him in the stomach and the Beskar saved him. And it's like, you look like you're just trying to sneak some hot tamales into the movie theater with that thing.
If he was saying the Pledge of Allegiance, he would have gone, right, that Beskar was in there. So yes, it was obviously in the right spot. No, I mean, I thought that for a character that you wanted to keep on, you will keep on the show. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
But it's a good way for Mando to not know that he's still alive. So it sets up a little surprise later.
But to your point earlier about him being the coward, like he's the coward now. He's sneaking on the ship. He's like, "Oh, hey, I got you, Mando." And also, how many times do you have to shoot the armor before you realize it's not going to work?
Yeah,
So,
go for the joints. Next shot.
next shot. I mean, so if I was going to sneak on the Mandalorian ship and I'm about to take him out after, the first time, listen, I never seen the guy. I don't know. Shiny stuff. Looks kind of fake. I sneak on, I shoot him. It reflects and hits a few things. I'm like, oh, my bad. Okay. I may shoot a few more times just to make sure it wasn't a bad shot. Okay. But once it's proven that the armor will not yield to the bullet or the whatever, what's it called? The proper term here? The photon stun laser beam?
Oh, just a blaster bolt.
Yeah, the blaster bolt. Thank you. That I'm not bringing the blaster bolt. You don't bring a blaster bolt to a Mandalorian fight. Okay, like that's just 101. Okay,
Right? Yeah.
You need a black saber, lightsaber, maybe a Beskar spear up in the joint, like you say. So it's one of those things. Like he's just watched this happen, and he sneaks on there. It's like, this is not going to end well for you. And he knows he's not giving up the baby. So I didn't really understand. To me, that was kind of a senseless scene where I think, to your point, it's only to show that the Beskar does work or something. I don't know. It felt like he escaped. Let him go. Like Apollo Creed getting knocked out again. I didn't need to see it. I've seen Rocky 4. I know what happens. It's tragic.
For those listening along, I am nodding my head. The descriptive audio on this episode was way better than what I just did.
Kyle does that to torment me, just to be clear.
No, I agree with everything you said.
So that
where's Mando going? That's my next question. He leaves the planet, and we see later that he comes right back. But like, what was his plan?
He was going to take the child and get to the ship and leave. So I kept telling everyone.
Yeah,
I don't think he thought beyond
that. I mean, maybe that is how I make a lot of plans. I'm going to do this so that I can do that, and that's it.
Where am I going? Like, where do I go now? Yeah. Let's go back. Yeah, I don't know. Those are all great questions that the story writers probably thought through in depth over many meetings.
Yeah, probably. So that's all I got as far as my.
Oh, he goes to the village next.
He does. Like he goes there, but and he was just kind of looking for an uninhabited planet. But we'll talk about this in 2 weeks. It's pointless.
Well, most of the episodes are.
I know. Well, I was going to say that's a point that you're going to bring up in 2 weeks, that it was pointless.
Spoiler alert. Descriptive
but I'm just
in the audience for Ryan's inevitable railing on the episodes being pointless.
Yes. So I just I was anticipating it. That was a preemptive comment.
I didn't think this one was pointless, to be honest with you.
No. This one was not pointless. I'm glad to hear that you didn't think it was pointless either.
It's hard to understand the real. Okay, so let me say this though: if you're watching this and you haven't really kind of sunk your teeth into what happened in 1, and then you see 2, and 2 is like, and then you watch 3. I don't think you realize the importance of 3 until you go on, and that's kind of my thing. Spoiler alert, you'll hear me say this again, is that knowing where we're at the end of season 2, watching this with fresh eyes, it's like, okay, now I can kind of see episode 2, the relevance there, not a lot. Episode 3, it's like, okay, yes, I do see why this is necessary to happen. The end scene's kind of silly, but or not silly, but useless. But the rest of it, okay, this is even the deal with him picking the thing up and screwing it back on the beginning. It's, okay, that's now you're starting to see that father-son bond. Mm-hmm. Even when he gets him, they have the shot where it's looking at Grogu, looking at Mandalorian. They're really trying to build up this whole father-son thing. And so I think one of the things we didn't talk about, I guess, in a while is, if it's supposed to be the kind of every week, the hero's adventure, that's fine. And I thought about some of those shows I used to watch when I was growing up that were kind of every week's not hero's adventures, but every week's this kind of deal.
Yeah, Hercules from the 90s.
Well, we had like we had like the 1960s Batman, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a good one.
But that was kind of just like you
Batman
turn it on and
66.
Batman would just go do whatever, right? There's no
Hmm.
real, from what I remember, no, but the shows I watched as a kid, like Saved by the Bell or Family Matters or whatever, or even a little bit older, like Seinfeld and stuff, those are just shows and you just turn them on and something happens. And sometimes there's reoccurring characters that pop in and sometimes they're not. But those shows rarely would build to anything. Every now and then you'd have kind of a back-to-back deal, but they really weren't building stuff. Even Star Trek on the Next Generation, if
Hmm.
you watch it, there are things that it does build up to probably better than you would have maybe thought, but you really have to be paying attention. Like, okay, Worf's son, the girl, his wife or his son get married. But anyways, like, okay, yeah, and I can see how they tied that in here, but you really got to be tuned in. And so with those, but with this show, I think they're saying they won't kind of like that Star Trek, Family Matters, Same with the Bell model, but they're not like one episode is that, which is episode 2, and then episode 3 is not that. Episode 3 is really building upon this thing. And so it's they're trying to go back and forth. And I think that may be more of my frustration as I've kind of thought about it some. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
it does make sense. And I think while you do have a cohesive writing team, you do not have a cohesive direction team. Though I do think that all these first episodes were directed by the same people or same person. But yeah, I see what you're saying, where they're going back forth because I was expecting the bounty of the week type thing going on,
Right.
and episode 3 very much was not that.
Mhm.
Um, so also, how messed up would it have been if he did drop the kid off and he did get hit the new puck, and then he just went on to his next job, and that was the episode, him going to the next job and getting that nobleman's son. And then episode 4 was just him doing another job, and they never brought Grogu back into it.
I think that might have
That would have
played
been terrible.
well.
In retrospect, it'd be amusing, but it would have been terrible. So many people would be ticked off.
Well, okay, they never ever came back to him, but they came back to him like 7 episodes later. And so let me put it like this. The thing that the writers kind of are expecting you to believe is that it's hard for Mando to make this transition. Because we don't really see much of bad Mando except for the first half of episode 1. The
Hmm.
rest of the bad Mando stuff is kind of in context of he's going through a transition from bad guy to good guy, more or less.
Yeah, he's an amoral character. He's not even really a good guy. He's an amoral character.
From our perspective, though, because
Yeah,
he's getting Grogu, he becomes a good guy. So we justify
anti-hero at best.
right, but we justify his actions because he's protecting
Maybe anti-villain.
Grogu. Sure, but well, right. But I'm saying so you have what he is, but you also have how we view him. So because he's protecting Grogu, we will let what he's doing. We would justify it as being good. But
Hmm.
if he would have had like 4 or 5 more missions like he did the first episode 1, where he went out and he got someone and you saw him kind of lose everything, maybe take a dad away from his family or something like that. I think it might have been more impactful than when he comes back across Grogu. He goes back to do something for the client. Client's got some special mission, and instead of doing the mission, he finds the Grogu and they're locked in a cage or something, and then he's like, he started. I think that might have worked a little bit better on some level because um, we would have explored kind of his inhumanity, his um, serial killer kind of tendency, sociopathical. Not that he is that, but it's the fact he can turn off, just do his job. He's got to turn off emotions, right? He's got to turn it all off and just go to his
Yeah,
job. And we don't really see that until it's like take the helmet off or something like that happens. I don't know. Maybe disagree.
yeah, but then him saving Grogu would have seemed more out of character. Also, the more of that side of him that we would have got to see.
But it doesn't make sense that he saved Grogu in episode 1 either, though. That's my point.
Fair enough.
And so and that's so season 1, episode 1, you kind of get away with. But in episode 3, you're like, okay, he's going back for him already, even though he's got the richest bounty in the galaxy, and he can go make more money. Okay, that's kind of his deal. And so he told us 2 episodes ago that fuel was expensive, and so
Hmm.
I think they have this whole deal, which is a long way of saying that I think they're wanting to, and you know these terms because you're the genius here. Episodic, right? Episodic is where it's one chose its own,
Yes, one after the other. Yep.
but that means that they're not connected, right? What's the shows that are not that they're not connected?
Oh, an anthology?
Yes, an anthology. It's not an anthology, but
No, it's not.
but they kind of play like it is sometimes.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I think that they want to branch out. They want to do a more well-rounded story than they have with other things, and so they do get some of that in. But even when they do one of those anthology or anthological style stories, like what the next episode appears to be on the surface, we find out it's not really that later on.
Right, but that's the
Yeah,
problem.
but
Go
you
ahead.
know, a couple months ago when we were watching season 2
Mhm.
before season 1 for this podcast, uh, you were talking about how much of a slow burn this thing is. I think that just fits into there. I think that's just part of the slow burn element. And I think that they wanted it to be a slow burn.
Yeah. And so I'm curious how next week's episode will hit me. I've seen this episode a handful of times. I've got 3 young girls, and so this one's one that they like particularly. And
Hmm.
so, or it's just the one that they haven't turned on. I don't know. It was on a lot when season 1 was on. It's like, oh, this one again. So I'm curious now how it will hit me watching it this time next week in preparation for this podcast because you're like, okay, it doesn't really make sense. But episode 3 now, I think makes a lot more sense, having seen all of what they did, and I think that's kind of the gamble that they took. It seems to be paying off. A lot of folks love the show, so but the gamble was we're gonna make a slow burn. It's not all gonna fit together unless you're like really. Well, let me ask you this: the flip side could be is the show made for YouTube? So think about this. Star Wars now is so much influenced by YouTube videos, reactions, breakdown, Easter eggs. Is this show kind of anticipating that people will watch the show and then consume like 30 hours of YouTube content?
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and so if that's the case, then maybe from their perspective, it's a slow burn, but they're expecting you to go to YouTube and YouTubers will explain to you what all's going on. And so then it will key you up more for what you're actually seeing.
Oh yeah, it's very much done that way. That's part of why they're not letting you binge it either when it first releases, how it is released weekly for each chapter and not a whole season at once, aside from that being the default of Disney's platform. But I do believe that the creators are very much desiring, at least anticipating, but also desiring, or maybe I should say at least desiring, but also anticipating people to do what we're doing here.
But
And
in real
you know,
time, not
in real time, yes.
not 2 years, not 2 years later.
Eventually, we will be real time. Time is a construct.
It's not
It's a necessary construct, though.
okay.
Yeah, that never works on my boss. You're late. Time is a construct. You're fired. Oh.
Word.
anyways.
I don't have anything else to count. I thought it was a solid 6 episode. I think it's last week I said 5 to 6, maybe lower. I can't remember where I rated it at. It was kind of boring. This one was not boring. It had some good stuff. And you know what? I take that back. I think 6 probably is too low. I think
Yeah,
six.
that's why I said 6.5, 7.
I think 6.5 is probably closer. Maybe I don't know about 7. I'd watch some more to see where it fits inside the Mandalorian hierarchy. But I think a 6.5 to 7 is probably.
That's good. We've been talking for an hour and 8 minutes.
6.51, just to outdo you by point.
Just out. Okay, well that's fine. No, because I'm still taking that as a win.
Okay.
An hour ago, you called it a 6. Now you're saying 6.51. We'll call it 6.5. I think that's reasonable. And that's what I had said an hour ago. So
6.501. I don't want to go full. Yeah, 6.501. Just tweak that there a little bit.
Okay. Well, only psychopaths go out to the third decimal point. Just joking. Just joking. But I'm going to say that you agreed with me. And it's not like there's a video on the internet to prove me wrong.
It's the narrator for the audio description. Ryan did not agree with Kyle.
We're just going to have to agree that you're wrong. I mean, agree to disagree. Whatever it is.
Agree. We're close. We're close. I thank you for talking me through this. This one, you have changed my perspective. You've upgraded.
It was the Paz Vizsla thing, wasn't it?
You know,
I mean, it's a little. I'm not saying it's like mind blowing, but it's a little like, oh, what?
Well, it was actually the Aquaman reference at the end.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
All right. Well, everybody's favorite superhero, Aquaman.
Okay, if we're at a party and everyone's there, I got a feeling Aquaman's like, "Hey guys, I'm a superhero." And we're like, "Yeah, sure, bro. Cool."
So, Aquaman has a bad rap. He is probably the most underrated major superhero, just period. He has, especially the new 52 version of Aquaman, has some really awesome powers and abilities and strengths, and I think is a great character. Super Friends 1970s Aquaman, yeah, that guy's garbage.
Sure.
And that's why people tune into this Mandalorian Star Wars podcast to hear me trash talk superheroes from 5 decades ago.
Well, that's all I got, Kyle.
All right.
I have questions, unfortunately. I apologize.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for talking. Thanks everyone for
just leave that up there, you know.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm Kyle Susan. This has been Hey Mando. Ryan, you good?
You usually say "May the Force be with you."
So I do. Yeah, May the Force be with you. Jeepers. I'm sorry. I just get thrown off by the comments. I do usually say that. That's not a lie.